it was very reassuring for me that she was as shell-shocked as I was.
Yeah.
Like, even though you plan, you know what's coming, you've read all the stuff, it's not till they're here that you realise, oh my God, this is actually really difficult. Hi everyone, and welcome back to No Place Like Home. I'm your host Larissa, and I'm here with Kath. Hi.
Hello.
And we are joined again with, I was going to say by Pam. By?
Yeah, whatever.
Same.
Whatever.
You're here with us, Pam.
Pretty easy.
I implore you to go and listen to the first episode with Pam. It is a mighty roar of a story.
You'll have a few giggles along the way.
You will have a few giggles along the way. But more importantly, you'll get to know quite a lot about Pam and her experience, and a little bit about her upbringing and where she's from. So, I do encourage you to go to have a listen. But we are going to continue on with where we left off in the last episode. Other than when you were birthing, did you plan a lot for your birth, around your birth?
No, absolutely not. Because you can, you can make your delivery, you can do things to make your delivery less likely to go skew-if, but curveballs are thrown all the time. And it can be something very simple, like the baby's position just pinches on the cord and you've got a big D-cell, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about that.
Yeah.
They're cheeky little buggers. They do what they like.
Yeah.
Okay. So I had a lot of faith in my body. So I felt like, I think this will be all right. I think we can do it. We'll be all right. But I also had a bit of a chat to myself about, well, as long as I'm okay, the baby's okay, all of that kind of stuff. So I do encourage women to do birth plans. Just so I know, let's say it might be our first time meeting, that I would know where your head's at and what your preferences are. So sometimes in the middle of labor, but I didn't do a birth plan for myself because I knew my midwife very well. Yeah. She knew me. I was pretty clear. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think she already knew that we would just take it one step at a time anyway and see what would be. I feel like if your birth plan is too rigid, that you're setting yourself up.
Yeah, it's an interesting point.
The rigidity. It's not good.
Because then you do hear, the translation potentially then into trauma about, why it didn't go to plan. The disappointment. Yeah. Yeah. So it's an interesting point. Did you plan for your postpartum?
I absolutely did.
You did?
I did. It was a vicious plan. Oh, a vicious plan. A viciously, beautifully planned plan. I rang my sister who's a midwife. I said, you will need to be up here for a whole week, darling. You will need to take annual leave. I don't know when the baby's coming, so I don't know how you're going to work that with the public hospital system. But I booked my sister. And my plan was in my mind that she was just going to be totally in control.
Your mind, I feel like this is going.
I'm just going to give her. Well, I gave my other midwife the reins for the delivery, then now for the first. The first couple of days can be very rough, or they can be really smooth. You just don't know. It's like a box of chocolates. You don't know what baby you're getting either. Yeah. Some are nice and easy and snoozy woozies. Others are like, nah, we're cracking on with this breastfeeding business. We're going to be on there all day, all night. So you don't know what's coming out. So I just knew I would need someone to say, take some Panadol, go to sleep,
and
put these on your nipples.
And that wasn't quaver for you. You didn't feel like
she would... not very medical. And I probably wouldn't have listened to Quiva. I probably, if my sister looks me in the eyes and goes, get into bed, I go, okay, I'm going to do what my midwife sister says. So or like put that ice on your peri. Put that on your hemorrhoids. I just needed a director of operations. And Quiva was there as well, but she'd also started a new job. We did the usual,
All the
buy a
things.
house, move in. You've got 4 weeks
you
till the baby
renovate
comes.
as
Yeah,
well?
yeah,
Oh.
absolutely. Every woman does this. I don't
Why
know.
do we do it?
I don't know.
I started a company.
Yeah.
John started his business.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
New floorboards, new wardrobes, new garage door. What, so I did that for like 3 weeks, and then I had a week to unpack every single box, and it was my goal. So my first week of maternity leave was, I was 50 shades of crazy unpacking. But I'll tell you, I did it. Yeah, and I threw myself a baby shower in my new home. Fully catered.
Wow. Did you cater it yourself?
I did a little bit myself, but I farmed out a lot. But I had like decorations. I went over the top, like all first time mums do.
Yeah.
So I did that as well. In the middle of the 4 week period, and then I had a baby. But yeah, that was fine.
So
my God.
postpartum for you put a few things in place. Obviously, you knew who to put in charge for certain things.
Yeah, I felt like I just felt like I would need someone to tell me what to do, because when that fatigue hits you, because you don't know how long your labor is going to be. So if you have, a baby that's a bit in the posterior position, you can have the stop-start labor that goes on for 3 days. So that's a very long time to be quite sleep deprived. So by the time the baby comes and you do the full blows of labor, everyone's length is different. You can be 5 days in, or even a week in, some ladies. So like I didn't know where I was going to be. So I knew that, and I'm Nana May, I'm inside in bed by 9:30. So I knew like if I'd lost a good bit of sleep, I was going to be useless. So I knew I needed someone just to tell me what to do. So so she took charge, and that was my birth plan as well. Also my postnatal plan for my second baby as well. I demanded the same thing. Very demanding of me.
You got what you needed.
I did. Yeah. She was brilliant at it now, and she was brilliant, to be honest. Yeah.
So your sister was there for the first week.
Yeah.
After you were
and so I said I didn't need any. I just needed Quiva for the birth. I do need you. I just needed my little to be able to glance over. That was my safety person in my mind to know that I'm safe. Yeah. So I didn't need anyone else in the birth room with me, but I knew I would need her afterwards. So that was my plan. And then I also had another sister. I was living in Sydney at the time, and so she came up as well. So they were both around. So that was lovely.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. And you did that both first and second baby?
Yeah, that was the same. Yeah, I was like, oh, that worked beautifully. I needed a director of operations, and I locked that in for the second. That worked really well. So I think that's one of the things that's really missing postnatally for women, is that someone wholeheartedly there with you 24 hours a day, that understands the physiological changes that have happened, that understand the changes that happen from a feeding point of view. In that first week, there is a lot going on. And if one of those days gets really messed up, or you have a tricky baby, or they're not latching well, or your nipples are damaged and you don't manage it well, the domino effect goes on for weeks. And it can be really upscuttling to your whole postnatal experience. So I do feel that that's an area that we really need to get better at in health. And I don't think our antenatal classes, they touch on, feeding cues and sleep cues and all of those things. But
it's a different kettle of fish when you're on the other side. You barely even remember those antenatal classes or things.
Memory.
It is.
We're even in labour.
Yeah.
I don't remember any of it.
I feel like we have spoken to quite a lot of health professionals now who, have worked in like antenatal and then, those early throes of postpartum. And everyone talks about how, you think you should know more than what you actually do. Your planning sounds like you put things in place for yourself, but what did that look like?
But to be honest, it was actually, my biggest learning curve actually was for that first year. Like I was reading so much, because I was like, oh my God, you didn't prepare very well for this part. I was like, I had a lot of experience with kids, but when they're not your own, or you're trying to read them, or their cues, or, you're like, oh, there's a brain development happening. Why are they so clingy this week? Why are they feeding so much? And all of that, figuring out that conundrum. I did that actually after I had the baby, with reading articles, and I found a few good websites that I felt gave me those little nuggets going, oh yeah, that's what's going on there now. I had a rule: if you have 2 bad days out of 7, you're doing really well.
Oh.
So I try not to look at the day, because your 2 bad days from this week and your 2 bad days from next week might run in together. So if you have 4 bad days in a row, I try to look at it over a longer period of time rather than yesterday
great.
was bad and the day before was bad and the day before that was bad. Oh my God, are they ever going to be good again? Like, are they ever going to sleep? So yeah, so I gave myself that kind of goal in
Permission.
my mind. And if I had plans and we had a non-compliant bambino, we just got rid of those plans. And so I gave myself a lot of permission to cancel.
Amazing.
Is that
That's
because
really great advice.
you've got your, like, in your work life as well, you've worked a lot in mental health too. So is that something that you were taught in that journey, or is that something you just went, I'm giving myself permission?
I think so. I think as women we're very hard on ourselves, and we have very high standards, and we don't give ourselves permission to have that breakdown or have that bad day. There was many a day I rang Quiva and said, get home now. And that's what happened. Do you know, if I had that day? So I did reach out. I was very lucky. I had another friend who was an obstetrician in training, who had a baby at a similar time. And our babies were born a couple of days apart, and we were WhatsApping to death. Oh my God, is yours doing this? Oh yeah, okay, that's fine. So I had one buddy that at the exact same time, and I felt it was very reassuring for me that she was as shell-shocked as I was.
Yeah.
Like, even though you plan, you know what's coming, you've read all the stuff, it's not till they're here that you realize, oh my God, this is actually really difficult.
But you're also managing the changes that are going on in your body, which you can't anticipate, because if you've never gone through that before, I mean, it's such a huge experience for your body to go through, even though its intelligence is there and it knows what it's doing. Still, chemically, there's stuff happening and changing and going on, and you're trying to focus and your brain is changing. Like, we know that now, right? Like, there's research there now that is telling us that. Like, it's just a myriad of stuff happening simultaneously.
Even though I knew all the body changes on the list, like, you know, your hair starts to fall out a bit and all those kind of things. I think one of the most confronting things for me was in the first few days when I had the baby. When the baby's here, you've got this very firm tummy, and then suddenly this very loose tummy, and suddenly you can put on your socks again, which is great. Yeah. But you're like, oh, your insides feel weird.
Yeah.
So I wasn't expecting that. So I found that like a bit... Like, it made my hair stand a bit. That when I bent over, that everything just didn't feel
like it was in the right
I was
spot.
like, oh God, I wonder where my bowel is. You know what I mean? So I was like, oh jeez, this is a bit full on. So I found that a bit
unsettling.
I wasn't expecting. I'd read about it, but I really wasn't expecting it. I don't know. It's so weird.
The feeling of it.
Yeah, the feeling is. I was
foreign.
like, I don't like this feeling actually. So I found that a bit weird. I like that I could put my socks on again. That was really nice.
Yeah.
But I just found that very strange. That body change. And sure, your boobs are, God, bigger than Ben-Hur.
Yeah, no.
You know, like, you're like, what are these? Where have they come from?
The apple distribution, the stomach that isn't feeling how it was, and then
the
it's all moved up.
The sore peri.
Particularly if you've got small boobs.
Yeah.
And then you've got these, like my husband was like, this is just wonderful. But I was like... I don't know about that, mate. Don't come near me and say that, because you're liable to cop one.
2 midwife friends that were devastated at the end of their breastfeeding journey because their kids disappeared. That's what they were.
Yeah.
They were like, oh, I feel
deflating a balloon.
I feel robbed. Why can't they just stay? Leave one good part. They were delighted with them. Anyway, so very interesting. Yeah, so I did find that body changes.
What was your first when you went back for the second?
I had this thing at 10 months, my ovaries would start twinkling when they were 10 months old. Twinkle, twinkle, have another baby. I was like, so I was like, I just woke up one morning going, we need to have another baby. I was in my later 30s as well. And I think I was very conscious that I'd had done IUI. So I had no embryos in the freezer that I could just chill out and get to. I was like, oh God, maybe my ovaries are dying. Maybe I need to get on with this. You know, you don't know how lucky you're, like you might have the first episode of fertility might be great and then might be really difficult. And so I think that was in the back of my mind. So I went pretty earlier on. So my girls were about 17 months apart.
So was this again for you? First time you spoke beautifully.
The bride and the groom. Yeah, same.
About what that looked like. Was this
I went
first time again for you?
Yeah, it was. I went into my doctor and I was like, we'll just crack on with the IVF now. I'm getting a bit older. You know, the ovaries. We got I don't know how long I've got left. And he was just laughing at me going, Pam, we're just going to do what we did last time because that was fine, okay? I was like, oh, really? Let's just push on. Like, nah, let's just do the IVF. And he goes, no, we're going to do the same. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. I was like, okay, I'll be the patient. And yeah, so I did the same, but it happened. Now, that is very unusual. He was a bit shell-shocked. He was like, it's unbelievable to tell you, but it's happened again. So that was, I was very lucky.
So just so that for people at home who don't understand the full process, like full IVF versus IUI, can you give us a bit of a...
IUI is where they give you some medications and they get your little egg to pop out at a certain day, a certain time, and on a certain time of the day you come in and they basically put the sperm into the uterine cavity and they meet where they normally would meet in the tube. That's what IUI is. Okay. IVF is where they take the eggs out of you. Yeah. So when you're doing IUI, they only want so many eggs to develop at one time. So there's a higher risk of multiples. So if you have too many follicles developing of the right size, they might cancel the cycle. Whereas IVF, they want to purge your ovaries and get as many follicles. With those little and follicles are the little sacs where the eggs sit in. They want as many of those, which is safe at a safe level. They don't want to overstimulate your ovaries because that can be risky for you. So what they want to do is get as many out as they can. That is the right number, not too many. So that you have some embryos also for this round and maybe for another round if you're lucky. So the game plan is a bit different.
So not full round. You didn't do full rounds of
hormones? I just had a little lick of it, I suppose, dash. So a small bit of it, but not too much. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So they just want really one or two to develop at one time, and then they give you a trigger injection so that egg will pop out, and then the bride and groom meet in the tube and hang out and develop as normal. So basically, just artificially managing it for you and timing it for you.
Right. Wow. How did you manage the juggle then with two young babies?
I think that was my biggest challenge. I being at home was fine. You know, I had two babies. My partner's back started to give her trouble when I think my little one was about 12 months old. We were coming back from my next sister's wedding on the same date as my brother. Because we did a couple of weddings in a row. So I went down with the 1-year-old when I was 8 weeks pregnant as well. And I had my second pregnancy was not good.
Okay. Oh, really?
It was not a good advertisement for more babies.
Okay.
It was good, actually. Try and get those ovaries to settle down. So yeah, no, I had a lot of hyperemesis. I lost about 7 or 8 kilos in that first few weeks. Oh, it's okay, lads. I had it to lose. It was fine. I had a bit spare, so it was fine. I was like, thanks. So that was hard. And then it was like something on that journey back on the flight from then on, my partner had really bad back troubles. And then when you add in the mixture of 2 little toddlers in cots or, you know, in a small baby, there's a lot of lifting, car seats, you know, in and out of cots, low cots, high cots, you know, toddlers and babies being picked up. It was a rough 3 years, to be honest, after. So yeah, that was very difficult. And then COVID hit as well. And then I couldn't see my family or my sisters. So that was tricky as well. And then I was, you know, back in the hospital working. So yeah, I think that the most difficult time for me was when I was that transition back into the workplace and trying to do that juggle of being back at work, COVID, feeling incredibly guilty because my partner's at home with 2 toddlers and pretty bad back, and knowing that they're like that's really difficult for her, and hoping that everyone's okay when I come back in the evening after my shift, you know, so that was probably the hardest part of it, I think, for me, is the back troubles.
Yeah, that would have been really difficult to...
Well, it's hard seeing your partner in pain, and then, but there's still 2 little humans that are needing things at different times. You know, it is a 2-person job when there's 2 under 2, you know, and I know women do it all the time by themselves. But, that was hard.
You sort of spoke about this second pregnancy was pretty rough.
Yeah.
You still got a tiny baby as well, like really under 12 months for those early days. Like, how did that impact things for you?
I took some antiemetics, but you know, a lot of them some of them don't do anything. They just take the edge off. I just did all those things to survive, and some days I would have to block off the sitting area, toys scattered around, and I just had to lay like a vegetable on the couch. And just when those waves of nausea are coming, so you just kind of just get through, don't you? You just kind of go, oh God, I hope this passes. It's I have a lot of sympathy and empathy for women that have hyperemesis gravidarum. It's pretty full on, or even any kind of nausea. The day is very long when you can't. And there was a day or two I couldn't lift my head off the pillow. My nausea was pretty intense. But I was lucky enough, about 20 weeks, my cloud lifted and I got away with and I was like, okay, I can do this now. But then I was waiting for it to come back in the 3rd trimester, and there was little mini waves, but it was nothing like the first couple of weeks. So I was okay. I was like, oh, I can deal with this. I can handle this. This is doable, you know.
Yeah.
Functioning wise, but I ended up finishing work much earlier. I just went into the office one day and went, nah, that's it. I'm out. Can't do it anymore. So I was hoping to work till about 37 weeks, and I think at like 34 and some few days, I just went into my manager and went, nah, can't do it. This is too hard. I can't waddle around here anymore. I gotta go. I had a beautiful manager, so she was very understanding. But
it sounds like at each point throughout your whole pregnancy, birth, postpartum experience, you kind of understood your limits. And at those points, or you almost preempted a lot of it really in your postpartum. You knew that you wouldn't listen to your partner on certain things. So I'm going to get my sister, and I know this is what I need. Obviously, do you think that went a long way to kind of bettering those stages?
Absolutely. And I didn't know how important that planning of mine was, until I look back. And now I think everybody should have that.
Yeah, absolutely.
One full intensive week. In parts of Northern Europe, they have a midwife stay with them 24 hours a day for 6 weeks after they've had the baby. I mean, we are so behind the 8 ball here.
So that's going to be, so we always ask the question of what do you think the current state of postpartum care is, and what needs to change?
I feel like you touched on it really briefly before, but I'd love to
I think that every hospital is under pressure, no matter what department it is. So there's always the push for, I need a bed. That's in every corridor of every speciality. So as a result, you know, the baby's just about out, and we're thinking about when they're going to go home. And the baby, they've only just done their first latch, and you're like, okay, well, you know, and they do things of birth times. If born before a certain time of the day, well, then they should be out at this time. If they're born past a certain time of the day, then they should be out on this day. So certain days. The phrase that's thrown around a lot in midwifery is, oh, well, birth is normal, having a baby is normal. The physiology of having and growing a baby and all that is normal. But it doesn't tell you what kind of pregnancy they've had. Was this a planned or unplanned pregnancy? Do they have a supportive partner? What's their network like? Financially, are they in a good position, or is this further,
Along,
increasing their death situation?
The holistic view is not there.
So yes, so lady has a normal, straightforward birth, but it doesn't mean that they didn't find that traumatic, depending on where they are in their own lives. Have they had trauma before? Have they history of anxiety, depression, things that so it's like having a cup of tea with different flavors in there, and you just don't know. So even though on paper they've had a straightforward experience, it doesn't mean that they don't need intensive care afterwards. Everyone is a bit different, and some people just cruise into it a little bit more easily, and other people find it very difficult. And also how many days of labor or birth, or what stressful thing happened to them just before their baby was born, what level of adrenaline's in their body. There's so much going on. Factors. So I worked with a doctor, and he said rushing gets no one anywhere, and I feel like it's just very rushed for women. So I would love if and even once you go home and you get discharged to the early childhood area, I mean, they come for an hour. For a couple of days. It's not very much if you're not sure on your latching, or if your nipples are damaged, and it takes more than observing one feed to help with that attachment and all of that. Or it takes time, like, okay, your baby likes a little pat on the bum, your baby likes a little sway, every baby they're all built a bit differently, like Lego. So you just don't know what you're getting. So you got to figure out, what little bambino have I got here? What do you like? What don't you like?
That takes time. And I think our society strips us of that time to just sit in it.
Rushing.
Yeah,
so
rushing everything.
Get in line.
And I think just antenatal education should be absolutely free for everybody. And I think reading your baby a refresher or some sort of intensive videos that they can watch, provided that is free, to talk about feeding cues, what is a good attachment, like reminders, because what you've done in antenatal you can't remember. There's so much. You're like, am I taking my vitamin D? Did I take my folic acid today? Oh, I need to go for an ultrasound. Oh, I'm meant to be having a blood test. There's so many things going on antenatally that your brain is overloaded, and your brain's not really functioning at full level anyway. Because you're like, oh God, I got to get the nursery ready. Oh, I need to think about my mat leave. I need to think about the finances. So there's so many things happening antenatally that you're tick, sorting, that there's no way your brain can remember all of those things. So I think intensive care after birth in your environment would be ideal. I know it's not possible in certain situations where there might be domestic violence and there's issues, but those women still need care in some sort of version. So trying to figure out, and that's what I love about this place, is this is what every lady should have as a standard.
The goal. That is the goal.
Yeah, it would be
Government,
amazing.
listen, please.
Please. Thank you so much, Pam. This has been an amazing chat. Double chat.
Oh, thanks, guys.
Thank you. We love having you as a member of the team here. You provide so much support and care and love and nurturing and knowledge.
Thanks.
So it's great to have you a part of the team.
Yeah, I just love to sprinkle. I think women just need a bit of love, a bit of TLC, and families, and a little sprinkle of magic, and it can go a long way to how they feel about themselves and their experience, and make it magical. Because it can be magical,
it can,
but
be.
It can be rocky too. So just trying to make that journey a little bit lighter.
Thanks, Pam.
Thank you.
Kath.
Thanks for having me.
This podcast represents the opinions of our hosts and their guest speakers. Views and opinions expressed in the podcast are our own and do not represent that of our places of work. This podcast is for informational purposes only, and content here should not be taken as medical or professional advice. Please consult your healthcare professional for any personal recommendations and medical care. While we make every effort to ensure that the information we are sharing is accurate based on the best available information at the time of recording, we welcome any comments, suggestions or feedback via our website contact form, home.com.au/contact. Names and details of personal experiences may have been changed to allow for anonymity and privacy. To join the conversation, join us on social media at Home Postpartum.